My name is Ruben Austria. I'm the founder of LEARNin, a local real estate influencer agency. I just want to tell you why we're here. We're here to educate, empower, and inspire real estate investors along their real estate journey. We connect real estate professionals to talk real strategies and real deals in real time.
Yeah, so I'm Rafael. I'm the founder of Private Money Specialist. We're a direct lender for private money, focusing on commercial and residential properties. I am also a mortgage broker, and we do alternative financing for self-employed clients and investors. And the need for private money is so huge in any market because it helps you close quickly. We don't verify income, and we're just looking at the property and the sponsor itself. So this answers pretty much the things that banks cannot do. We're doing construction loans, we're doing renovation loans. And sometimes if your credit isn't there, but your credit history is good, we have options for you. So we always cater towards investors and self-employed clients.
My name is Jacqueline Goohs, and I own Working Globally, Closing Locally. We are a real estate brokerage company that works domestically and nationally. Our main objective is to represent our clients no matter where they're at. So whether you're here in the US or you're overseas, we're hand-holding you throughout the whole process. We work with commercial investors, and we work with residential, luxury residential as well. We develop and we build alternative, sustainable building homes and commercial developments.
Talking about fix and flips, buy low, sell high. But what happens when that person who actually bought that fix and flip runs out of money? The strategy wise, as a private lender, when you see a mid-construction deal, mid-construction fix and flip, what are some important things to know?
Usually it's always a red flag. Those are deals that no one really wants to touch. So we would always want to see the most detailed construction budget showing what's been done and what's left. And also the story, what's going on. Because we want to see if there was anything unique that happened, any surprises, which there always are when you're doing a fix and flip, if it's like a full gut job or a pretty high level renovation versus something that's light or medium. And we want to see where you're at, what's happening, what's the story? Did you have to change GCs because somebody messed up?
From a broker's perspective, what would make sense for you to educate and make sure this investor knows what they're getting into?
Yeah, well, when I represent an investor, we do a portfolio on it. What's the running ROI? What's your cap rate? If it's commercial, but if it's not commercial, what's the residential outlay at the end? What is that ROI, right? Because we're using Rafael to fund us the money, but in the end, what's going to be the cost of construction, and what is going to be the lay time, right? Because there's also depreciation value while you're waiting for the property to be done. You're inlaying money, and that's the cost to construct as well. So there are a lot of different variabilities. Some of that also has to do with the homeowner's skills. Some homeowners like to think that they can run in there and they could fix that fix and flip, and it's so much fun. And all of a sudden they turn around and they're like, oh, well, we're subbing out these people, but the cost to sub per square is higher than they can afford. And they don't have that knowledge. They think that because they're inlaying their time, it's going to be less money, but they also don't have those accounts that get that better price because they're not necessarily in the business. They're utilizing Home Depot for their construction. So it's also dependent on who's doing that fix and flip. And so if I'm talking about a professional person that's doing fix and flip, 30% is the going amount that I want to see strong that they're going to be getting back in their pocket.
It really depends on your market. In the LA market, we've seen like 10 to 15%. Having a 30% return would be amazing. That doesn't exist though. So depending on your market, yeah, up to 30%, it definitely is possible.
So this local opportunity of the week, it's in Northern California, a town called Glendora. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,162 square foot of living space, 12,746 square foot lot. So decent sized lot. It's going to be delivered vacant. Investor ran out of funds to finish this project, and the wholesaler is saying that there's only a remaining need for $35,000. Asking price of $970, ARV of 1.2. So as we can see, we go through the pictures of the current condition of this house. So as you can see, this is a mid-construction deal. Obviously, it's not finished. Rafael, I'll let you start to, where do you want to start in terms of the discussion on this particular deal?
On this, what were they saying was the remaining rehab budget, and what do they think the after repair value is?
35,000 is the rehab budget, and 1.2 million is the ARV, after repair value.
So
Right.
1.2 ARV. What do they purchase it for?
800.
Yeah. So according to public record, this property was purchased for $800K in January.
800K. And do we have an idea of how much was spent into the project already, or no?
They're asking 970. So in between that,
approximately maybe 170, 150 maybe.
correct.
And then you need an extra 30 grand, 35 grand to finish a project.
Correct.
So let's just say you're a million all in to make 200 grand minus expenses. It doesn't look like there's enough return on that one. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a good deal. And the fact there's only $35,000 left, which, judging by the pictures, that it sounds pretty difficult. The bathroom alone will cost you about what, $6,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, you can get it on the skinny at 5. But
yeah, and remember, we're not even thinking about plumbing and electrical. All the small stuff like putting in flooring, vanities, those are the cheap things. We have no idea about the plumbing, the electrical. Just looking at the flooring all across the house, I can range in from 8 to 15 grand. And the roof's there.
Yeah, you've got exposed studs, and so that would need more.
Yeah, so is the rehab budget legitimate? It doesn't really sound like it. Because if it was $35,000 and this was a seasoned flipper, $35,000 is not that much to be flipping a home like this. So there's probably more issues to this property than they're leading on.
So I think it needs about another 100 grand worth of work, from what I see from the pictures. I think we'd have to determine what the variabilities are, right? So I know we're seeing these pictures, but what's the actual? What actually has been done? And we need to go through a checks and balances process to make sure what has been done, and what needs to be done is priced and cost effectively priced out. Right now, they're saying that you can sell it for 1.2 in that area. It says that the high is 1.3. If it's a really drop dead gorgeous home, you could always push it to that 1.35, 1.4, but that's really, really on the high end for that area. And from the look at the kitchen, and it doesn't go that route for me. So I would walk, because you don't know where right now the prices are that aren't shown or not disclosed. Like what Rafael said, the electrical would be a big thing, because that's another 50 grand in.
Yeah, so I actually brought this up while you were talking, Jacqueline, and it's funny is that this is the condition of what they bought the house at.
Yep.
Which isn't exactly, honestly, I mean, you probably could have bought it and still rented it and been okay.
I actually saw them.
Yeah. So sometimes, it's better to not even do the rehab. If you feel like you got a property.
Really quick, go back to the kitchen. So the flooring hasn't even been touched in the kitchen. And They just did a backsplash from the previous pictures for the renovation. And more than this, looks like a first-time flipper.
Yep.
Gone wrong, which is, I've been seeing this over and over and over again, because I get a lot of these loan requests when they're mid-construction, and this is a first-time flipper.
Yeah. This person should have probably been happy with renting it for a few years and then potentially flip it at the right time.
Yeah, because it looked like they pulled up the carpet. There was some really nice wood flooring underneath there. I mean, all you got to do is, stain and polish, and, there was not a lot for a 170 inlay. That's what's, if that was put in, or 150, you don't know if they're trying to get our ROI out, even though they fudged, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know if they're trying to get maybe a certain percentage out. If they only spent 100,000, realize they didn't have any money, so they're going to sell it for a 50% gain, because they think that their place is special enough that even though they made a mistake, they're going to sell it high, right? And they're going to walk away with 50, and they'll be happy because they can put that into their next flip. But it doesn't look like that 170 that is between the purchase price and the amount is being sold is actually valid. So I would want to see where the value is in what they actually did in that remodel. and then I will tell them what they're going to make. I would actually put it 50,000 below and maybe think about it as taking it over, but I don't know. I would have to see what's in the game.
Got it.
And that's a personal walkthrough.
How would a new investor potentially, what would they come across when they were looking to potentially take over for this last investor, Rafael? From a lending perspective, what do you feel would be required for them to do that?
I guess before we even get to the lending aspect, you would want to walk through with the GC, whether you use a previous one or a brand new one of your choice. See what's been done and what's needed. And since this is an ADU and there's electrical and plumbing, and this is happening in Glendora, guess what? Building and safety, have they passed whatever work that has been done? What has the city said? Did it pass? Does the inspector need to come back out again? You don't know. So, and also when you're flipping, you got to be looking at, hey, who's my end buyer? Is it going to be an investor that's going to rent this property, or is it going to be a homeowner or the family, or is it going to be a first-time buyer? There's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're coming into a flip. You just can't renovate a home and assume someone's going to buy it. Like, who is your buyer? And you should create your house according to that avatar, that person that will be buying it.
That's exactly right.
So as far as the lender goes, for me, I would want to see, for a brand new investor, heavy cash reserves. I would require a large down payment because there's not enough equity in this property. I'd probably be like 35 to 45% down, and we would finance 100% of the rehab. And yeah, that's what would be needed. So I would only do it for an experienced investor, someone that has done 5+ flips in the last 2 years and has heavy liquid cash reserves. That's the only way this deal would make sense.
And I'm in agreement. Because if there's another flipper that takes it over, they're just going to wind up tanking it. And so not fair to the house or the community. First things first. And Rafael mentioned it exactly, is that you go check with the town and see what the status is. Why isn't it further along? What happened? If it's a deal that's gone bust, so that's something that can be negotiated so that reinvestment doesn't have to be isn't necessary if they're taking over what was going to be implemented prior, but just not facilitated or achieved. So there's a lot of variability in this, and it'd be really interesting to see and follow along to see what happens. Looking at from the investor end, is that you're going to be outlaying 6% to the agent's commissions, and you're going to be having another 2% that goes in towards the transfer taxes and the lawyer. So make sure you're taking that investment in totality. It's not just the flip. It's not just the cost of construction, which in this area always lean on the high end. You could always pull a cost of construction in any area that you're going to buy in, and that they're fairly accurate. And then you can play with it to try and bring it lower, of course, by subbing. But make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you're getting vetted, and never, ever pay anybody's estimate up front.
So when you're looking into flipping and you're purchasing the property, before you even get into it, do some research. Jump on Redfin, Zillow, whatever you use to search for a property. Look at how much properties are going for in that neighborhood, how long are houses sitting in that market. How long was it going to take you to flip that house? Is the renovation going to take you 4 months, 6 months, 10 months? Is the trend of increased pricing going up, or our house is not selling quite as fast in that neighborhood and it's kind of going in a downward trend? So you want to take a look at market activity and comps. And when you're going to a flip, whether it's your first one or your second one or your 10th one, you definitely want to have cash reserves for anything that can pop up. And usually it can be when your construction budget, when you go over, when there's a change order from your GC because, something happened, something went wrong, or you don't like the end product. So you have the additional cash reserves to get a draw. And we can go into that in a later video when we talk about draw schedules when you're getting a renovation loan. And also pre-market your listing. Whenever you buy a flip or a ground-up construction deal, if you're midway through, I would tell your realtor, hey, put this on coming soon. Start marketing it. So by the time you actually have the certificate of occupancy or it's completely done, the finished product, you should have offers, or you should have some people already interested. So you don't have to wait for the first open house or whenever you actually list it actively, or if you try to sell it yourself, can always pre-market the property.